Here we are again, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And we're on chapter 10, Stealing Freedom for Your Soul. The prerequisite to true freedom is to decide that you do not want to suffer anymore. You must decide that what you want to enjoy in your life, that there is no reason for stress, inner pain, or fear. Every day we bear a burden that we should not be bearing. We fear that we are not good enough or that we will fail. We experience insecurity, anxiety, and self-consciousness. We fear that people will turn on us and take advantage of us or even stop loving us. All of these things burden us tremendously. As we try to have open and loving relationships, and as we try to succeed and express ourselves, there is an inner weight that we carry. This weight is the fear of experiencing pain, anguish, or sorrow. Every day, we are either feeling it or we are protecting ourselves from feeling it. It is such a core influence that we don't even realize how prevalent it is. Enter the thoughts. Ultimately, you have to always bring it back to the interference. Interference, break that word down. Enter fear. That's the mind. And that is when the thoughts enter. That is when the mind hijacks your vital biological life force, your energy. That's what exhausts us, is this constant need for the mind to keep you safe, to protect you. And it's always out of fear, it's out of lack. When in reality, we have to tap back into our hearts. When Buddha said, all of life is suffering, this is what he was referring to. People do not understand how much they are suffering because they have never experienced what it is like to not suffer. To put this into perspective, imagine what it would be like if neither you nor anyone you know has ever been healthy. Everyone has always had major ailments so acute that they can hardly get out of bed. In this world, nothing gets done that can't be done near the bedside. If that were the case, then people wouldn't know anything different. They would have to use all their energy just to drag their bodies along, and there would be no concept or understanding of health and vitality. That is exactly what is going on with the mental and emotional energies that make up your psyche. Your inner sensitivities expose you to a minute-to-minute, constant situation in which you are suffering to one degree or another. You are either trying to stop suffering, controlling your environment to avoid suffering, or worrying about suffering in the future. This state of affairs is so prevalent that you don't see it, just as a fish doesn't see the water. You only notice that you're suffering when it gets worse than usual. You admit you have a problem when it gets so bad that it actually begins to affect your everyday behavior. But in truth, you are having constant issues with your psyche during your normal daily life. To truly see this, compare your relationship with your mind to your relationship with your body. Under normal, healthy situations, you are not thinking about your body. You just go about your business, walking, driving, working, and playing without focusing on it. You only think about your body when there is a problem. In contrast, you think about your psychological well-being all the time. People are constantly thinking things like, what if I get put on the spot? What should I say? I get so nervous if I'm not prepared. That is suffering. That constant, anxious inner talk is a form of suffering. Can I really trust him? What if I expose myself again? And then I get taken advantage of. I don't ever want to go through that again. That is the pain of having to think about yourself all the time. Why do we have to think about ourselves all the time? Why are so many thoughts about I, me, and mine? Look how often you think about how you're doing, whether you like things or not, and how to rearrange the world to please yourself. You think like this because you're not okay inside, and you're constantly trying to make yourself feel better. If your body had not been okay for a very long time, you'd find yourself constantly thinking about how to protect it and how to make it feel better. This is exactly what's going on with your psyche. The only reason that you think about your psychological well-being so much is because it has not been okay for a very long time. It's actually quite fragile in there. Just about anything can upset the psyche. To end suffering, you must first realize that your psyche is not okay. You must then acknowledge that it does not have to be that way. It can be healthy. It is truly a gift just to realize that you don't have to put up with or protect your psyche. You don't have to constantly be mulling over what you said or what this person thinks of you. What kind of life are you going to have if you worry about these things all the time? Inner sensitivity is a symptom of non-well-being. That's pretty profound. I'll say it again. Inner sensitivity is a symptom of non-well-being. It's the same as when the body sends pain or displays other symptoms when it's not well. Pain is not bad. It's how the body talks to you. When you overeat, you get a stomach ache. When you do something that puts too much stress on your arm, it starts to hurt. The body is communicating through its universal language, pain. Your psyche is communicating through its universal language, fear. Self-consciousness, jealousy, insecurity, anxiety, they are all fear. And what I added to this was, it's not always about feeling good. It's about being good at feeling. So many of us, we're conditioned to believe that we have to run from the pain, when in reality, pain is our biggest teacher. Pain is an indicator that something is seeking your attention. And whether it's emotional, mental, or physical pain, once you give it your attention, you focus on it, you breathe into it, you become present with it. You be the gift to the pain that is seeking your attention. And where attention goes, energy flows. So then it frees up that pain because thank you for acknowledging me and allowing me to be recognized that I'm existing in this moment, and now I can flow because energy is meant to stay in motion. And that it's very common that addiction is all about running from the pain. And as we say in the Beyond Addiction program, it's not always about feeling good. It's about getting good at feeling. Sit with that for a moment. Chase the pain, because where there's pain, there's growth. And you can be addicted to your pain to the point where you use it as a way of feeling comforted because it's familiar and it's always there like a trusty old friend. It's constantly showing up to remind you that you're alive. That was the first thing I found myself aware of, was my pain and how significant it made me feel, not toward others or others giving me attention for it, as much as waking up anticipating it. And through the anticipation, what you anticipate, you create. Again, where attention goes, energy flows. And you manifest in the form of, if you're thinking about it all the time, if you're anticipating it, you're looking forward to it, you're trying to resist it, that's all feeding it. And that's how we manifest. Fresh air. Breathe it in, take it in, reflect upon it. If you mistreat an animal, it becomes afraid. This is what has happened to your psyche. You have mistreated it by giving it a responsibility that is incomprehensible. Just stop for a moment and see what you have given your mind to do. You said to your mind, I want everyone to like me. I don't want anyone to speak badly of me. I want everything I say and do to be acceptable and pleasing to everyone. I don't want anyone to hurt me. I don't want anything to happen that I don't like. And I want everything to happen that I do like. Then you said, now mind, figure out how to make every one of these things a reality, even if you have to think about it day and night. And of course your mind said, I'm on the job. I will work on it constantly. And people wonder why they're so exhausted. And this can be conscious, this can be unconscious. Whew. Makes you tired just thinking about it. Can you imagine somebody trying to do that? The mind has to try to make it so that everything you say is said the right way, taken the right way, and has the right effect on everybody. It has to make sure that everything you do is interpreted and seen the right way, and that nobody does anything that hurts you. It has to make sure that you get everything you want, and that you don't ever get what you don't want. The mind is constantly trying to give you advice about how to make it all okay. That is why the mind is so active. You gave it an impossible task to do. It's equivalent to expecting your body to lift trees and scale mountains in a single jump. Your body would get sick if you kept on trying to make it do things it was incapable of doing. That is what has broken the psyche. The signs of the body breaking are pain and weakness. The signs of the psyche breaking down are the underlying fear and incessant neurotic thinking. At some point, you have to wake up and acknowledge that you have a problem inside. Just watch and see that your mind is constantly telling you what to do. It tells you to go here, but not there, and to say this, but not that. It tells you what to wear and what not to wear. It has never stopped. Wasn't it that way in high school? Wasn't it that way in junior high and elementary school? Hasn't it always been that way? This act of constantly worrying about yourself is a form of suffering. But how do you fix this? How do you get it to stop? This is called self-flagellation, people. And we've been doing it for a very long time. Beating ourselves. Because from the moment we're born of original sin, so we're constantly striving and seeking to prove ourselves worthy of love. Because we don't feel lovable. We don't feel worthy. We feel lack. Something's missing. Again, like the other day. What's wrong with me? Nothing. It's just that you've been infiltrated. You've been hijacked. Some call it the mind virus, Wedico. The sickness of the mind is the war that goes on in your mind, thoughts. They conflict, and that is why we create dis-ease. Dis-ease is the manifestation of an unwell, sick mind. Most people try to fix their inner problems by getting better at the same external games they have always played. If we take a snapshot of our inner problems, we will see that each person has what we will call the problem of the day. This is the thing that is bothering them the most at any given moment. When the current problem isn't bothering them, then the next one pops up. And when that isn't bothering them, then the next one pops up. And when that isn't bothering them, and so on, the next one, and the next one. That's what your thoughts are about. Your thoughts tend to focus on what is bothering you today. Your thoughts are all about the problem. Why is it bothering you? And what can you do about it? If you don't do something about this, it will go on for the rest of your life. You just have to choose. Do you want to worry incessantly? Just stop. It's that simple, as you'll see. what you'll see is that your mind is always telling you that you have to change something outside in order to problem solve on the inside. But if you're wise, you won't play this game. You'll realize that the advice your mind is giving you is psychologically damaged advice. Your mind's thoughts are disturbed by its fears. Of all the advice in the world that you do not want to listen to, it is the advice of a disturbed mind. Your mind actually misleads you. Suppose it tells you, if I could just get that promotion, then I'd be fine. I'd feel good about myself and I could get my life back together. Have you found that to be true in your life? After you get that promotion, does that end all of your insecurities and leave you financially satisfied for the rest of your life? Of course not. All that happens is that the next problem comes to the surface. You forget about it. You forget about what fixed the last problem, and now you've moved on to the next. Once you see this, you realize the mind has a serious underlying problem. And what it's doing is making up external situations that might make things more comfortable. But the external situations are not the cause of the inner problems. They are merely an attempt to solve the problem. For example, if you feel loneliness and insufficiency within your heart, it's not because you haven't found a special relationship. That did not cause the problem. The relationship is your attempt to solve the problem. All you're doing is trying to see if a relationship will appease your inner disturbance. If it doesn't, you'll try something else. The fact is, however, external changes are not going to solve your problems because they don't address the root of your problems. How profound for so many who don't go within, they tend to go without. If you don't tap within to the wisdom of your heart, your mind will drive you crazy, literally. The root problem is that you don't feel whole and complete within yourself. If you don't identify the root properly, you will seek someone or something to cover it up. You will hide behind finance, people, fame, and adoration. If you try to find the perfect person to love and adore you, and you manage to succeed, then you have actually failed. You did not solve your problem. All you did was involve that person in your problem. That is why people have so many problems, so much trouble with relationships. You begin with a problem inside yourself, and you tried to solve it by getting involved with somebody else. That relationship will have problems because your problems are what caused the relationship to begin with. It is also easy to see once you step back and dare to look at it honestly. It's something I can assure you that in my own life I've seen. Going into relationships thinking that they're going to love me enough to fix and make me feel safe and I won't look elsewhere. But how many of us have gone into relationships and it's good to a point, and then we're already looking elsewhere while we're with somebody else? Be honest with yourself. It's not the person you're with. It's the person you're always going to be with. Because wherever you go, there you are. So you can't run from the root problem because it's with you everywhere you go. You know, it's the definition of crazy, thinking you can keep doing the same thing over and over again. Same scenario, different characters. It's very humbling. Relationships are where we grow the most because people will mirror back to us. They will become the catalyst of bringing our traumas to surface. We attract where we're at. So whatever our work to do on the inside is, if we don't do it consciously, we will unconsciously choose people that match our energy and force us to adapt and overcome, or to choose the healing path in one way or another. We will either stay and work on it. We will go because maybe we've entered into a toxic relationship and then we catch the pattern. Because a lot of times we go where it's most familiar for us. And if you are somebody who's been in a string of toxic relationships, it may only feel familiar and comfortable because that's all you've ever known, just like we just spoke about. You tend to gravitate to that which is most comfortable and familiar. It doesn't make it healthy or good for you. Especially if you come from an abusive background. That's very standard. It in itself can become habitual and addictive. But it takes conscious awareness and a willingness to make choices to change. And that whole story around chemistry, I'm going to tell you about that one. I've talked about that before, but if you find you've got chemistry with someone, take a step back, because I have found in my life, chemistry typically signals, been there, done that. Do we want to repeat the process? What kind of chemistry are we talking about? Because chemistry usually means this is familiar, maybe not such a good familiar. It could be the sign of a repeat lesson and entering into where you've already been in the past. You know, the universe loves to throw in a little cosmic joke and see if they're going to get a tickle out of you. A tickle and a giggle. You know, hey, did you learn the lesson? You think there's something magical because there's chemistry. Chemistry just means you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Now, whether or not it's the right t-shirt, that's a whole nother bag of worms. Because it could be that you have a chemistry that's healthy. That's very rare. Typically, we have chemistry because we've just been there and we hadn't learned the lesson. And if you look at your past relationships, pay attention to where the chemistry was similar. How did those turn out? It's usually a clue in there. Just saying. I got my t-shirts. I learned my lessons. I don't believe in chemistry. I think chemistry is a sign to step back and observe, be a lot more diligent and discerning. All right. Now that we've seen what failure looks like, let's define success. Success regarding your psyche is comparable to health regarding your physical body. Success means you never have to think about your psyche again. A naturally healthy body is one that just does what it's supposed to do while you're going about your business. You never have to think about it. Likewise, you should never have to figure out how to be okay or how to not be scared or how to feel loved. You should not have to devote your life to your psyche. Imagine what fun life would be if you didn't have those neurotic, personal thoughts going on within you. Wow. You can enjoy things and you could actually get to know people instead of needing them. You could just live and experience your life instead of trying to use life to fix what's wrong with inside you. You are capable of achieving that state. You are capable of achieving that state. It's never too late. Your current relationship with your psyche is like an addiction. True story. It is constantly making demands of you, and you have devoted your life to serving these demands. If you want to be free, you have to learn to treat it like any other addiction. And the funny part is, if you recall in the beginning, you gave it a task. It's on top of the task. And the irony is you're expecting it to tell you what to do. How freaking crazy is that? You given the task of protect me, and then you're willing to listen to it when it comes up with the most absurd ideas. I told you, definition of crazy, people. For example, drug addicts are capable of stopping their drug use, going through withdrawals, and never doing drugs again. Maybe it isn't that easy, but they are capable. The same thing is true of addiction to the psyche. You are capable of ceasing the absurdity of listening to the perpetual problems of your psyche. You can put an end to it. You can wake up in the morning, look forward to the day, and not worry about what will happen. Your daily life can be like a vacation. Work can be fun. Family can be fun. You can just enjoy all of it. That does not mean you don't do your best. You just have fun doing your best. Then at night when you go to sleep, you let it all go. You just live your life without getting uptight and worrying about it. You actually live life instead of fearing and fighting it. You can live a life completely free from the fears of the psyche. You just have to know how to do it. Let's take smoking, for example. It is not hard to understand how to stop smoking. The key word is stop. It really doesn't matter what patches you use. When it is all said and done, you simply must stop. The way you stop smoking is to stop putting cigarettes in your mouth. Pretty simple, huh? All the other techniques are just ways that you think will help. But the bottom line is, all you have to do is stop putting cigarettes in your mouth. Novel idea, isn't it? If you do this, it's guaranteed that you will stop smoking. You use the same technique to get out of your psychological mess. You just stop telling your mind that its job is to fix your personal problems. This job has broken the mind and disturbed the entire psyche. It has created fear, anxiety, and neurosis. Your mind has very little control over this world. In fact, it has none. It is neither omniscient or omnipotent. It cannot control the weather and other natural forces. Nor can it control all people, places, and things around you. You have given your mind an impossible task by asking it to manipulate the world in order to fix your personal inner problems. If you want to achieve a healthy state of being, stop asking your mind to do this. Just relieve your mind of the job of making sure that everyone and everything will be the way you need them to be, so that you can feel better inside. Your mind is not qualified for this job. Fire it and let go of your inner problems instead. You can have a different relationship with your mind. Whenever it starts up telling you what you should or shouldn't do in order to get the world to match your preconceived concept, don't listen. It's just like when you try to stop smoking. Regardless of what your mind says, you don't pick up a cigarette and put it in your mouth. It doesn't matter if it was just after dinner. It doesn't matter if you get anxious and you feel the need. It doesn't matter what the reason is. Your hand simply does not touch cigarettes anymore. Likewise, when your mind starts telling you what you have to do to make everything inside okay, don't buy into what it's telling you. The truth is, everything will be okay as soon as you are okay with everything. Again, let me repeat that one. The truth is, everything will be okay as soon as you are okay with everything. Take off the filters. Drop your BS. Forget the stories and your past experiences. Just allow. Everything is neutral until you project onto it. And that's the only time everything will be okay. All you have to do is stop expecting the mind to fix what's wrong inside of you. That is the core, the root of it all. Your mind is not the guilty party. In fact, your mind is innocent. The mind is simply a computer, a tool. It can be used to ponder great thoughts, solve scientific problems, and serve humanity. But you, in your lost state, told it to spend its time conjuring up outer solutions for your very personal inner problems. You are the one who is trying to use the analytical mind to protect yourself from the natural unfoldings of life. And I wrote down in here, that's so exhausting. Your thoughts are stealing, again, vital biological life force energy from your body. And that's how clever the mind is. By watching your mind, you will notice that it is engaged in the process of trying to make everything okay. Consciously remember that this is not what you want to do, and then gently disengage. Do not fight it. Do not ever fight your mind, because you will never win. It will either beat you now, or you will suppress it, and it will come back and beat you later. Kind of reminds me of George Carlin. Never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level. Anyway. Instead of fighting the mind, just don't participate in it. When you see the mind telling you how to fix the world and everyone in it in order to suit yourself, just don't listen. The key is to be quiet. It's not that your mind has to be quiet. You be quiet. You, the one inside, watching the neurotic mind, just relax. You will then naturally fall behind the mind because you have always been there. You are not the thinking mind. You are aware of the thinking mind. You are the consciousness that is behind the mind and is aware of the thoughts. The minute you stop putting your whole heart and soul into the mind as if it were your savior and protector, you will find yourself behind the mind watching it. That's how you know about your thoughts. You are in there watching them. Eventually, you will just be able to just sit there quietly and consciously watch the mind. Once you reach this state, your problems with the mind are over. When you pull back behind the mind, you, the awareness, are not involved in the process of thinking. Thinking is something you watch the mind do. You are just in there, aware that you are aware. You are the indwelling being, the consciousness. It is not something that you have to think about. You are it. You can watch the mind being neurotic and not get involved. That is all you have to do to unplug the disturbed mind. The mind runs because you are giving it the power of your attention. Withdraw your attention and the thinking mind falls away. And then you recapture your vital life force energy. Begin with the little things. For example, somebody says something to you that you don't like, or worse yet, doesn't acknowledge you at all. You are walking along and you see a friend. You say hello to them, but they just keep on walking by. You don't know if they didn't hear you or if they actually ignored you. You aren't sure if they're mad at you or what's going on. Your mind starts going a mile a minute. Good time for a reality check. There are billions of people on this planet, and one of them didn't say hello to you? Are you saying that you can't handle this? Is that reasonable? Use these little things that happen in daily life to free yourself. In the above example, you simply choose not to get involved in the psyche. Does that mean that you stop your mind from going around in circles trying to figure out what's going on? No. It simply means that you are ready, willing, and able to watch your mind create its little melodrama. Watch all of its noise about how hurt you are and how could anybody do that. Watch the mind try to figure out what to do about it. Just marvel at the fact that all of this is going on inside simply because someone didn't say hello to you. It's truly unbelievable. Just watch the mind talk and keep relaxing and releasing. Fall behind the noise. Let it go, let it go, let it run in its circles. Just keep doing this with all those little things that come up each day. It is a very private thing you do inside yourself. You will soon see that your mind is constantly driving you crazy over nothing. If you don't want to be like that, then stop putting energy into your psyche. If you don't want to be like that, stop. That is all there is to it. If you follow this path, the only action you ever take is to relax and release. When you start to see the suffering going on inside, you just relax. Relax your shoulders, relax your heart, and fall back behind it. Do not touch it. Do not get involved in it. And do not try to stop it. Simply be aware that you are seeing it. That's how you get out. You just let it go. And don't let it in. In. Like the energy, let it pass through. Don't allow it to store that trapped, stagnant energy, just like in the last chapter. When we talk about the energy needs to keep moving, thoughts are energy. Allow them to come in like clouds and not get lodged in your being. Begin this journey to freedom by regularly reminding yourself to watch the psyche. This will keep you from getting lost in it, because the addiction to the personal mind is a major one. You must set up a method to remind yourself to watch. It's about getting present. It's intentional. So there are very simple awareness practices that only take seconds to do. Yet they will help you stay centered behind the mind. Every time you get in your car, as you're settling into the seat, just stop. Take a moment to remember that you're spinning on a planet in the middle of empty space. Then remind yourself that you're not going to get involved with your own melodrama. In other words, let go of what is going on right then. And remind yourself that you don't want to play the mind game. Then before you get out of your car, do the same thing. And if you really want to stay centered, you can do this before you pick up the phone or open a door. You don't have to change out anything. Just be there, noticing that you notice. It's like taking inventory. Just check out what's going on, heart, mind, shoulders, etc. Set up trigger points in everyday life that help you remember who you are and what's going on inside. I call it getting present. Staying present in the moment. When you are in the now, you can't get hijacked. You get present with your breath. Sure, you're aware there are thoughts. Those thoughts are either going to be of the past or the future, unless you stay present with the breath. And then when you notice that your breath gets short or stopped, notice where your mind went. Where do you feel it in your body? All these different ways to come back to the moment, because that's essentially what he's telling you to do, is to set the intention, which is what brings you into the moment. It brings you into the now. Be intentional in the now. Be intentional in being here now, in this, no matter what this is. These practices create moments of centered consciousness. Eventually, you will have persistently centered consciousness. Persistently centered consciousness is the seat of self. I love that. Persistently centered consciousness, intentional, is the seat of self. Of course it is. That's where all your power lies, is right here, right now. Because otherwise, when you're not in the now, you're in the past or the future, you're sending energy elsewhere. And to collect it, to be present, is to be in your power. Whew, some good stuff. In this state, you are always conscious of being conscious. There is never a time when you're not totally aware. There is no effort. There is no doing anything. You're just there, aware. Aware that thoughts and emotions are being created around you while the world unfolds before your senses. Ultimately, every change in your energy flow, whether it's agitation of the mind or shifts in the heart, will be what reminds you that you are back there noticing. Now, what used to hold you down becomes what wakes you up. But first you have to get quiet enough so that it's not so reactive in there. These trigger points will help remind you to remain centered. Eventually, it will become quiet enough so that you can simply watch the heart begin to react and let go before the mind starts. At some point in the journey, it all becomes heart, not mind. You will see that the mind follows the heart. The heart reacts way before the mind starts talking. When you are conscious, the shifts of energy in your heart cause you to instantaneously be aware that you are back there noticing. The mind doesn't even get a chance to start up because you let go at the heart level. Now you are on your way. The very thing that was holding you is now helping you out. You have to use all energies to your advantage. This path of letting go allows you to free your energies so that you can free yourself. Right in the midst of your daily life, by untethering yourself from the bondage of your psyche, you actually have the ability to steal freedom for your soul. This freedom is so great, it has been given a special name: liberation. Who wants to be liberated? It's all about becoming present. And I always come back. Master your breath. That brings you into the present. It makes you aware of your mind so that you can master your mind by being in awareness of your thoughts. If you don't know your mind, then how can you improve your life? So when you can master your mind, then you can master your life, and you will master your domain. Know thyself so well, and it starts in the mind because that's where everything originates. It flushes through. You got a whole lot of stuff that comes in and out. And when we allow it to hijack us, we wonder why we're so exhausted in a society of overthinking, or maybe numbing out. But that mind's still active even if you don't hear it. The mind is still influencing you. You are being influenced. Remember, to interfere is to enter fear. And the mind interferes because of fear. So when that mind starts up, consider that's when entered fear. The mind is interfering because it wants to hijack and run the show, because it thinks it's there to protect you. And you always have to remember, we're always either acting out of love or out of fear. The mind essentially is working from the space of fear. The heart, it feels, it senses, it knows. It will go in the direction of love because that is its natural flow state. We are naturally loving beings. It's the mind that is there to keep you safe, not happy. And the funny part is that the heart wants to be happy. The head, it wants to be right. Now, which is it? Do you want the head to overrule the heart just to prove a point, just to be right? Because that's the ego mind. See, I can protect you, but the heart doesn't like that, because the heart's there to go and feel and have experiences and be expansive. That's the point of the heart, is to expand the heart. Like I said in the other video, our superpower is our magnetic field, is our openness of heart. The more open we are, the more impenetrable we are, the more powerful. We are more powerful than we even allow ourselves to be, because we let our minds talk us out of it. Out of fear, enter fear. So the next time you hear your mind going on its hamster wheel, drop into your heart and breathe. Remember, the heart is in the same space as the lungs. So you breathe. Sigh it out. Do that a few times. Sometimes you need to hear your own sounds, because that's natural. Release. Let go. That could be your liberation. Just breathing in and sighing out. You may be moving a stuck energy just by doing that. And you may feel the weight lifted off of your shoulders and the weight off your heart. The more you breathe, the more awareness you'll have of your mind. And the more awareness you have, now you've got the key to unlocking your life. Because again, that's the way you master it. Master your breath, master your mind, and master your life. And then you'll master your domain. It really is that simple. So, I hope you enjoyed this segment. Catch you on the next video. Remember, smash the like button, click the notifications and that bell to get notified when I either go live or upload these videos. If you enjoy this, let me know in the comments. What stood out in this particular video? How's your life going? Do you feel this is serving you well? Sharing is caring. From my heart to yours, I love you and I hope you're doing well.